Hey everyone, it is Melissa from Generation Studio and Shop here coming at you on this 4-drawer dresser that we have been trying to complete for weeks. Normally a project does not take this long, but due to some illnesses and also just having too many pans in the fryer at the moment, it has just kept getting put on the back burner. So we're doing it a little bit different today. Normally I do live videos. Today I'm going to record because I want to get this thing finished up and out of here, and I don't want you guys to have to listen to all the vacuuming and stuff going on after I sand. So the first thing I would like to tell you is this is probably, I think, part 6 of this long saga of a revival of a 4-drawer dresser painted with the Real Milk paint from the Real Milk Paint Company. Please go back and look at the other videos that we've done on this 4-drawer dresser. Leading up to this, it'll take you through everything we've done from as far as, you know, getting it ready as far as prep goes, what we cleaned it with, sanding it, wiping it back with denatured alcohol, how we took down the veneer top, and that's getting ready to be stained. What else? We have it, at this point it's painted. We did a little bit of blue. The colors that we've used are Riverstone. I don't know if you guys can see the detail here. We used the black iron just for here and a little bit at the very, very bottom, which you guys can't see. I'll tilt it down in just a minute when we go to sand it. And we used French gray, which is like it's almost like a blue look on here up against the Riverstone. So what we're going to do at this point is I really want this thing distressed a lot. So I'm just going to be using, if you guys have never used this before, it's really great stuff. It is by 3M. It is flexible sandpaper. And this one is a 150 grit, but you can actually buy rolls of it just like this and cut off what you need. And I always make sure that I cut off enough to fit around one of my blocks. But like I said, I'm going to start out with the 150 grit. And the way I like to distress a piece is I'm going to distress it all over. However, you want to focus on those high parts, those corners that are going to get hit a lot, that you know that, you know, if you're running the vacuum cleaner, that it gets hit. People pulling in and out drawers, that's where it's going to get hit a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and get that part going and get it all sanded down. I'll pull you guys down while I do that. Hopefully the phone stays there. And I'm just going to leave the drawers in here, but I want to make sure. Now normally when I'm sanding, I'll put on just a little mask just so I'm not inhaling sand, you know, dust or whatever, but that would sort of hurt me trying to video and talk at the same time. So just know, for safety's sake, always put on like one of those little, you know, blue masks or whatever. If you have a respirator, I don't know if you need to go to that extent unless you're dealing with a toxic paint, which the Real Milk paint is not. So I'm just going to make sure I hit it. I like really, really distressed pieces. At least on this one I do. There are pieces that I like really slick and modern looking, but this is not going to be one of them. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to get this sanded down. And after we get it sanded, I'm going to go ahead and use the good old brown wax on it to seal the milk paint. And to tone it down just a little bit to give it a little bit more warmth to it. After that's all said and done, you're going to see me vacuuming up the sanding dust and everything. Do the waxing, let that sit, and then I'm going to wipe down the top and get that all prepared to restain. Okay, so that's where we're at so far. Hey, I'm back. We just got done sanding the 4-drawer dresser, and I vacuumed it out, as you guys saw me in fast motion. I wish I could vacuum a house that quickly. And now what I'm just going to do, I did wipe it down with a dry cloth to get any remaining dust off of there, but I'm just going to take a very, very damp rag and go over it really quick just to make sure that all the dust is off before we go to wax it. So that's what I'm doing now. Hey guys, we're back. We have just gotten done wiping down the piece. We have not waxed it yet. That's going to be the next step, but I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone here, so to speak. So I want to get the top of this, it's a veneer, so I want to try to get the top of it conditioned, ready for some new stain. I have decided to go with a golden pecan on the top. Hopefully it will look beautiful. I was going to use golden pine, and then I just chose to go with the golden pecan, and you know, if I don't like it, it's something that I can change, but that's what we're going to go with. But first, before I put the Minwax stain on here, I want to condition my wood, and all you need to get is this Minwax. It's pre-stain wood conditioner, okay? And I always, when I take the lid off, I always like to stir it a little bit, okay? Excuse me for popping out of screen for a second. But the best way I like to do as far as applying this is to put a rubber glove on, okay? And then I like to take a kid's sock that fits over my hand. And I know this sounds silly, but I like to take the seam, if the sock has a seam, and put it on the top of my hand, not on the bottom, so that it's not actually leaving a mark in it, because it actually will do that. And then what I do is just go ahead and dip my fingers in there and start putting it over top of the wood, or in this case, the veneer. And don't forget to go down over the sides of it as well. And this just prepares the wood. It gives it a nice conditioning and ready to take on some stain. So we are going to, I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, but this always makes my nose run for some reason. It's not overly smelly, but for some reason it always makes me get a little sniffly. So I just put on a nice coat of this conditioner. And like I said, the whole way around, make sure you get the underneath of the edge here. And even take your fingernail and push it into the edges so that the stain is, when the stain gets put on, it is an equal amount and it doesn't look splotchy. Let me just keep going here. Sorry, we have a Best Kept Secrets tour, so if you just heard the buzzer, people just came in, so I apologize for the buzzing, but when you have a business and you're open, that's what happens, and that's a good thing. That's what we want. We want business. So we're going to put this around like this, and then I just give it a once over, make sure it's nice and even. And this usually sits on for about 5 to 15 minutes to let it soak in. And then you want to make sure that you stain within 2 hours. I wouldn't want it to go any more, or it's going to dry out too much. And then I would probably want to do it again. So I'm just going to take my sock and go over it. In about 5 to 15 minutes, I'm going to take my sock back over it and just make sure that I soak up any of the conditioner that is pushing out of the wood. The wood is a funny thing. It's fabulous in that it only soaks up what it needs. It does that with hemp oil. It does that with tung oil. It's sort of an amazing thing. I know, I'm sort of a wood geek. But I love, that's why I always try to save, even if it's just a thin piece of veneer on the top of a dresser, I always try to salvage it if I can, instead of replacing it or painting it. But that's just me. I don't have anything against painting the tops, but I like to save them if I can. And the way this one looked before, it was pretty nasty. So I'm really happy. I mean, it's going to have its nicks and its, you know, pieces missing and things like that, but that's what gives it character to me. So we're going to leave this sit on here for 5 to 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes or so, I'm going to come back on and put my first layer of glaze on, okay? Hey, it's me again. while the wood conditioner is sitting on the top for the next 5 to 15 minutes, I thought I'd come down here and start waxing this 4-drawer dresser. And the wax we're going to be using is the Real Milk paint. It's called the Good Old Brown wax. It's one of my favorites. It's not real like espresso-y color. It just gives it a subtle, nice, just browning effect. And I'm just going to go ahead and take my waxing brush, rub it in here, and go to town. So hang with me. Okay, so as I put this on, you can see how it's going to change it a little bit. Not a whole lot, but it's going to give it enough just warmth. It's just warming that Riverstone up just a little tad, and this needs wiped back yet, so it's not going to stay this tone. So I'm going to go ahead and continue waxing this, and I'll put it on fast forward so that you guys don't have to sit there and watch me wax this whole piece. But always make sure you take your wax brush and get down in the detail here. You want to really make sure that you push it down in there. I always like to go in a circular motion. A lot of times I'll actually use a stenciling brush, like a really short stencil brush, because it just is so stiff, and I like that more so than like a wobbly soft brush. But since this was such a large piece, I wanted to get in here and use my my bigger brush. And I love milk paint has a tendency at times to chip. Now the Real Milk Paint Company doesn't chip very often on me. I actually have to put in something to make it chip if I want that like really chippy, just delicious look. That sometimes we want. I did not put that in, but I also did not put an Ultra Bond type thing in here either that made it like adhere to it. So I do have some chipping right here, which I absolutely adore, and I just love that. And I had some up here as well. So I'm just going to roll with it because I really like that chippy goodness on this piece. So I am just going to keep waxing, and then I'll bring you guys back when I go to wipe it off, okay? All right, so I have waxed the whole front of it and the front legs. I did not do the sides yet. I'll do those, but this started to dry on me, so I want to get a lint-free cloth and start wiping back. So that's what we're going to do now. Let me raise you up here just a little bit. And waxing is hard work. As you can see, I took my jacket off already. But you don't want it to dry on there too much, because then it makes it a little harder to get off. Let me put my goggles on so I can see what I'm doing. But you just want to wipe it back. I usually like to go in a circular motion, but as long as you're buffing it and taking it off a little bit. And what you can do is, like tomorrow when I come in, I will probably take another rag, another buffing rag, and like buff it really well to make it very smooth. This Good Old Brown wax is just phenomenal. Let me try to go in the order that I put it on so that I can take it off in the same order. But you can see where the wax grabbed into some of the parts a little bit more than others, which is perfectly okay. It deepened the French gray, and it looks very blue to me, but it is a gray. And I have some of the brown from underneath coming out from the original color that the dresser was, that dark brown. So we are just going to continue hopefully you can see. I'm trying to get to a point where you can see like half and half. Well, you can see like this drawer versus this drawer over here. And on this one, on the second one, it grabbed in a little bit more, and it's going to grab a little bit more on the third one as well. If it's too much, you can always take a little bit of mineral spirits or dip into the wax again and sort of use your wax as a remover, which I've done many times. But I actually think I'm going to like it the way it is, so I'm going to continue with that, and we'll show you when it's all done with being waxed. Boy, waxing is pretty hard work. I'm sweating up a storm here. I forgot that I didn't have the air on at all today because it was cool outside. So if I'm huffing and puffing, please forgive me, but waxing can be tough work when you're really rubbing and rubbing and buffing and buffing. So our next step is I have the whole front waxed and buffed out. I also did the sides, and before we leave tonight, I'm going to put my first coat of my Minwax golden stain on. It is actually golden pecan, and like I said, it's just Minwax. It's a wood finish. So again, I have my rubber glove on. I'm just going to take my sock. You can put this on with a brush, you can put it on with a sponge. I like to use my hand, and I'm just going to dip in and just slowly put it on so that I'm not dripping or anything like that. I'm going to do the whole top. I like to do go back and forth with the grain. Make sure that you saturate it pretty good, but you don't want like you know, puddles of stain sitting on there. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's I'm very happy. I'm very happy with this color choice. And if it's not as deep as I want it to be, tomorrow morning when I come back in, I'll put another coat on. But always go back and forth very gently. And that's why I like using a sock, because when I use a brush, I feel like I get too much on. But with the sock, I manipulate it a lot better that way, at least for me. I mean, everybody has their own way of doing you know, different techniques. But this is just going to be gorgeous. So then you want to make sure that you come around and get the front. I don't want to come and put my back to you. I know I did that a lot with the waxing, and I do apologize. I wish there was a way that I could not do that, because I don't like being rude and putting my back to you where you're not seeing what I'm doing anyway. But just make sure you go around the sides. Normally I like to get down underneath and make sure I see where I'm going with the stain. But I've done this so many times, I can sort of feel where I need to be, that I'm not hitting the sides and getting, you know, those full of stain. Just you want to go around the whole underneath side of that as well. And I always just take one last time and just make sure it's nice and even on there. Like I said, I am such a wood nerd, I guess. A wooden paint nerd, you call it. I just like putting this on. To me, is so relaxing. Putting this stain on and watching it transform something that was sitting, that was old and dry, and just really, it's the kind of stuff that you see along the road that people pitch out because they don't know what to do with. And it just, it warms my heart to be able to bring this back. I don't know if you guys, can you guys see this? I wish I could pick it up. I can pick my phone up as soon as I discard this off of my hand though. Sorry, I don't have a camera person with me today. But let me see if I can bring you down. Let me see if I can pop you out of here without dropping you. Sorry. All right. I don't know if you guys can see that. Give you a little bit of a tour. I know there's a shine on it, but so anyway, whew. So that's my big hand in front of you. So that is the color of the stain there, and we will, I think I'll probably put a second coat on that tomorrow morning. I'm going to let it sit. When I come in the morning, I'm going to wipe back any that that the wood kicked out, and I'll take a look at it then and see what the tone looks like, and if it needs to go a little bit deeper, I'll go a little bit deeper, or if I think I'll change the color, I'll do it at that point. But I really think I'm happy with this golden, I don't know why I keep forgetting the name, the golden pecan. I think I'm going to be very, very pleased with that. And then, excuse me, after we have that all taken care of, I'm going to put on a wipe-on poly just for the extra protection. So till tomorrow, that's what I got for you so far. You guys have a great night. Bye-bye.